Hey, what's going on YouTube? Welcome to my first pre-Season 8 League of Legends Champion Guide. Today I'm going to be covering Jungle Jarvan, the Exemplar of Demacia.
By my will, this shall be finished.
Alright, so let's start off this guide by looking at Jarvan's pros and his cons. So Jarvan's a jungler that has a really strong early game and really strong ganks as well. Now, although his ganks are really strong at level 6, he still has some pretty solid ganks at level 3, so you can start ganking as soon as you get blue and red buff and get yourself some really easy early kills. He's also a champion that gets some really good mobility from his E and Q combo, and when you use that E and Q combo on an enemy with an auto attack, you're going to do a very high amount of damage, and you're a pretty bursty champion. You also have some pretty solid team utility with your ultimate, and you can block off certain areas of the map, and you're a very fun and fairly easy to play champion. Now, as for his downsides, Jarvan definitely falls off in the late game. You're not going to be doing as much damage in the late game, but your ultimate can still be really strong in teamfights. However, this ultimate can also be very bad. You can cut off your own team with the ultimate, which will allow the enemy team to safely get away, so make sure you use it properly. Finally, Jarvan's a pretty mana-hungry champion early on as well. This means you can't really give away your first 2 blue buffs, and if you do get it stolen away from you, you're going to have a lot of difficulties. Either way, however, he still is a really strong jungler at the moment, and if played properly, you can definitely carry games. For your runes, you want to go for Domination and Precision, grabbing the keystone Electrocute. This is basically just a renamed Thunderlord's Decree, and whenever you use 3 attacks on the enemy, you will proc a bunch of extra damage. This of course works great with Jarvan's EQ plus auto attack passive combo. For the rest of your runes in the Domination side, you want to go for Sudden Impact, Eyeball Collection, and Ravenous Hunter. Sudden Impact is going to give you some nice lethality whenever you jump to an enemy with your E and Q combo, Eyeball Collection is going to give you some nice extra AD, and Ravenous Hunter is going to heal you for a percentage of the damage you deal with your abilities. In our other side, we want to go for Triumph and Coup de Grace. We're going to restore some health and get some bonus gold on a takedown, and deal 10% more damage to low health enemies, which is going to work great with your ultimate. You could always go for something tanky instead of Precision, but I definitely prefer the damage. For your first summoner spell, you want to take Flash. It's great when used defensively to escape a bad situation if you do get caught out in a bad position. You can always use Flash offensively as well to engage onto enemies from a long distance. Either use it with your Demacian Standard and Dragon Strike combo to engage from afar, or use it to dunk somebody with Cataclysm. For your next summoner spell, you'll want to take Smite. Since you will of course be jungling, it's required to clear through the jungle quickly while also remaining healthy. It's also required to buy your jungler item, and it's great for securing objectives like Dragon and Baron. Make sure you take it at all costs because jungling without Smite is pretty AIDS. Your passive ability is Martial Cadence, and this does a nice extra chunk of damage onto the enemy with an auto attack based on the target's current health. This is an innate passive that makes Jarvan's basic attacks deal 10% of the target's current health to champions as bonus physical damage. This effect, however, cannot occur on the same target more than once every few seconds. Now, this passive is pretty damn strong because it's great for last hitting, clearing through the jungle, and adding extra damage, of course, onto enemy champions. Since this is also based on the target's current health, it's great against tanky champions because when they do have a lot of health, it will do a lot of damage. Even against squishier targets, it will still add a nice extra chunk of damage, so as long as you get onto them with your E and Q combo, this auto attack is going to do some pretty significant damage. Your Q ability is Dragon Strike, which does some nice damage in a line, reduces armor, and also pulls you to your Demacian Standard. When activated, Jarvan extends his lance in a straight line, dealing physical damage to all enemies it passes through and reducing their armor for 3 seconds. If the lance connects with a deployed Demacian Standard, Jarvan dashes to it, knocking up nearby enemies along his path for 0.75 seconds. So this here is a really strong ability because it has a 120% bonus AD ratio and a scaling armor reduction. Since this ability also does AoE damage in a line, it's also going to be fantastic for clearing through the jungle. The better part about the ability, however, is when you use it with your Demacian Standard to engage from a long distance. Simply drop your Demacian Standard forward wherever you want to jump to, and then use your Q ability to connect to it and jump to the Demacian Standard. Your W ability is Golden Aegis, and this is a really nice shielding ability that also slows the enemy champion's hit. When activated, Jarvan slows all nearby enemies for 2 seconds. Jarvan also shields himself for 5 seconds, increasing in strength for each enemy champion hit by Golden Aegis. So this is a pretty decent ability because it's both great defensively and offensively. When you're going in for a gank, you can use this ability to slow the enemy champion, so it's much easier to stick onto them and your team can follow up. This will of course also shield you, which is even better in team fights because as long as you hit multiple enemies with this ability, you will get a really strong shield. Your E ability is Demacian Standard, which grants sight, gives bonus attack speed, and allows you to jump to it with your Q ability. Passively, Jarvan permanently has bonus attack speed. When activated, Jarvan throws a Demacian flag to the target location, dealing magic damage to all nearby enemies. The flag then remains for 8 seconds, granting sight around it, providing an aura that grants Demacian Standard's bonus attack speed to all nearby allied champions. So this is a really nice ability because all of that bonus attack speed is great for clearing through the jungle and adding damage into ganks. In teamfights, all of your allied champions will be granted this bonus attack speed as well, as long as they're nearby, and that of course even makes it stronger. When used together with your Q ability, it gives you a really strong engaging ability, so make sure you drop this wherever you want to go to, and then use your Q ability to connect you to it and jump to the flag. Your ultimate is Cataclysm, and this does some really nice AoE damage that makes you immune to crowd controls and also creates impassable terrain. When activated, Jarvan leaps to an enemy champion, becoming immune to crowd control during the duration and dealing physical damage to nearby enemies upon arrival. Upon impact, he creates a circle of impassable terrain for 3.5 seconds that grants sight around it. Jarvan can reactivate Cataclysm to instantly destroy the circle. So this here is a really strong ultimate because it has a 150% bonus AD ratio that is AoE damage, and it can be really devastating against a clumped up enemy team. It does of course also make that impassable terrain, so if the champion doesn't have a way of escaping the circle, they're pretty much guaranteed dead. In teamfights, you'll want to try to get this onto the backline so you can trap those squishy targets in an area, and if possible, make sure you hit multiple champions. For your skill order, you first want to put a point into your ultimate whenever you can at 6, 11, and 16. Then you'll want to move on to maxing your Q ability first. This has a really high AD ratio that does damage in a line, which is great for jungle clearing, and even reduces armor, easily making it your best ability. Then you want to focus on maxing your E ability second because it also increases your damage by giving you some permanent attack speed. That of course means you want to save your W ability for last because it is mainly a defensive, although you do want 1 point early on at level 4 so you can actually shield yourself and slow the enemies. For my jungle route, I'll usually either do my blue or red buff first, and then my wolves, and then either my red or blue buff, depending on the side that I'm on. I like to start at whatever side my bot lane's on, so I know I'm going to get a good leash. This will get you level 3 quickly, and you can start ganking with your double buffs. Jarvan has really solid ganks as soon as he's level 3, so I almost always rush level 3 as soon as I can, and then I start ganking. Use your E and Q combo to quickly close a gap on an enemy, and then delete them. You do have a pretty solid jungle clear however, so you could always do a full jungle clear, hit level 4, and then either gank or go back and buy. Ganking on Jarvan is fairly simple. If you know that the enemy has a flash available or a built-in escape ability, usually I like to try and walk up to them and slow them with my golden Aegis first. Whenever the enemy flashes or uses their built-in escape, I then use my EQ combo to close a gap on them and then delete them. If however you're level 6, then ganking gets a lot easier. You'll now have 2 different gap closers, so you can use your E and Q combo to get on top of the enemy, and if they do flash away from you, use your Cataclysm to get back on top of them and hold them in place. Your ganks are pretty decent as soon as you're level 3, but they get insanely strong after level 6. Jarvan is also a fairly strong team fighter. A well-placed Cataclysm can easily win your team a team fight if you catch multiple squishy carries inside. Try your best to get onto the enemy backline, and if possible, pop one of the enemy carries. If you're the tankiest champion on your team, however, then you may need to be a tanky frontliner for your team instead. Use your Cataclysm in this scenario to help peel for your carries so they can safely deal their damage instead. You should also be using your golden Aegis to slow enemies and help peel, and of course this is also going to give you a really strong shield if it hits multiple people, making you a very tanky champion. Now let's look at some of your hard matchups, and first up is Kindred. Kindred is a champion that can easily kite you if you miss your E and Q combo, so make sure you land it on her at all costs. She does also have a way of leaping backwards as well, so if you do use your ultimate, she can escape the circle. Their ultimate is great at cancelling your own because it's usually used as an execute, and she can easily save either herself or her teammates with it. For the next hard matchup, I've got Shaco. Shaco is a really annoying jungler to face because he has a lot of mobility, and keeping up to him is going to be pretty impossible. Of course, if you also do ever ultimate this Shaco, he's just going to jump out with his Q ability and escape you easily. Try to keep track of where he is on the map at all times and counter gank him, and make sure you use your ultimate when he's really low so he can't just jump out of it afterwards. For the next hard matchup here, I've got Udyr. Udyr's going to be pretty hard for you because he is a really strong duelist, and locking yourself in an area with an Udyr is usually just going to get yourself killed. If you hold him in an area with Cataclysm, he's just going to use his press the attack rune to easily destroy you. Therefore, you're going to want to try to not 1v1 Udyr at all costs and only engage onto him if either you're way stronger or you have follow-up. And for the last hard matchup, I've got Xin Zhao. He yet again is a really strong duelist when he takes the press the attack rune, so you don't really want to 1v1 him ever. I would still say you are a better team fighter, so try to get to the team fighting stage of the game and do not duel him at all costs. He is one of the best junglers in the game currently, so don't die to him in the early game. Alright, with all that covered, let's now look at the item build, but starts with a Hunter's Talisman, Refillable Potion, and a Warding Totem. For the core build, you want to go for a Warrior Enchanted Stalker's Blade, Black Cleaver, and a Deadman's Plate. If you were having to fill the role of the main tank, then you could always go for a Cinder Hulk as well, but generally I like to get as much damage as possible early on, and then go tanky so my ganks are a lot more effective. The Warrior combined with the Black Cleaver will give you some really nice early damage. You'll of course have the Phage for increased movement speed, and you're going to have that Armor Shred from the Black Cleaver as well. Oh, of course, there's also all of that cooldown reduction. Then you want to pick up the Deadman's Plate just so you're a little bit more durable, and of course you're going to have that bonus movement speed, making your ganks even more effective. For the boot options, we have Merc Treads against high AP and CC heavy teams, Ninja Tabis against high AD teams, and Boots of Mobility if you're planning to roam around a lot and gank as much as possible. For the item pool, you could always go for some lethality early on as well and get either the Yumu's or the Duskblade. Both will give you some really nice damage and cooldown reduction, but the Duskblade is definitely my favorite one here because of that extra damage on your first auto attack. If you did want to prioritize mobility, however, you could always go for the Yumu's instead. If you were looking for some magic resist and still wanted some damage, you could always take a Maw. This will give you some really nice attack damage and also have a really solid defensive shield if you do take a bunch of ability damage. If you were really strong and you wanted to try split pushing to victory, you could always take a Titanic Hydra as well. This will give you a nice chunk of damage and also a really solid health pool. If you then wanted to pick up some more armor and health, you could always go for a Randuin's. This is a really solid defensive item that does have an AoE slow and also reduces crit damage, so it's really strong against champions like Yasuo who do have a 100% crit chance. Another great armor option that does have some attack damage on it would be the Guardian Angel. This will give you a nice chunk of damage and also a really solid defensive that brings you back to life if you do end up dying. Then finally, if you need some magic resist, you could always go for the Spirit Visage. This does also of course have 10% cooldown reduction as well, so it's a great way to cap off your CDR. For my example full build, however, I take that core build, pick up some Merc Treads, and then a Guardian Angel and a Spirit Visage. As you can see here, I definitely prefer going for a Bruiser build, but if you were snowballing, definitely pick up some lethality early on and snowball your way to victory. And that's all I've got for Jarvan 4. If you guys did enjoy the video, please make sure you like and subscribe, and also check out the video description below. I have a link to all my social medias, and I also have things like a Discord server, so there's some you should definitely check out. But other than that, thank you guys so much for checking out the video. I really do appreciate it, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take it easy, have a good day, and peace.